Yeah, g'day. I just thought maybe I could try and make a bit of a rant this evening. Probably not the greatest idea since I've got dinner on now that I'm finally back home. It's only, I don't know, I don't think it's even 9 o'clock yet. It could be closer to 10. I wasn't really counting the times. And I should probably sit down and make this rant a little bit more cohesive. Damn it, I was going to grab another beer before I started. Oh well, I just have to make do with what I got. Where to begin? Every single night I go out looking at the stars. Tonight was a really good night. You could see many, many stars. And again, tonight, I saw the Southern Cross exactly where it belongs in the nighttime sky. Now, you can't tell me that if we're on a planet going around the sun annually, that every single night we could be looking at the same stars. Is the whole universe travelling around our sun as well? Well, not when you look at the animations that people make where it shows how the planets are spiraling around the sun as the sun is trajectorying through the universe. Not even that, it's just our galaxy. And our galaxy is just this tiny little spirally speck in the great scheme of things. But you have to apply some amount of common sense to what they're saying. On the big scheme of things, okay, the Earth is barely moving. If you're looking at it from a great distance, it's like watching paint dry or something. But here on Earth, 1400 kilometers an hour, that's actually meaningful. It has some sort of, I don't know, some sort of, I don't even, application to what we can understand, to reality. If we're in a car going 60 kilometres an hour, we feel it, it's not going that fast. You stick your hand out the window, you'll get this lovely wavy feeling. You speed up to 100 kilometres an hour, all of a sudden, your hand is getting really pushed around. And yet we're supposed to be on the surface of a planet with no protective barrier apart from atmospheric gases held by gravity. No windscreen, no nothing. 1400 miles an hour, and we feel nothing. It can be perfectly still, as it was tonight. It was a beautiful evening tonight. None of that adds up to common sense, to what we should be feeling. Secondly, tonight, I always look at the stars, look at the aeroplanes going by, and you can tell it's an aeroplane because it has flashing lights. Mostly they have two flashing lights plus a constant light. Whether they be red, green, it's sometimes hard to say. It's a long way away, but you can see there's flashing lights, white and something, with the constant thing. And you know it's a plane. You can sort of tell it's reasonably close. So tonight, once again, I saw a satellite. The minute I saw it, I go, oh wow, a satellite. I haven't seen one of them in a while. Why do I believe it's a satellite? That's what I asked myself. Okay, so there's no flashing lights, it's just the one constant light, and I can tell from observation it's much further away. Don't ask me how I know or can tell. You can just see by common sense observation. It's a lot further away and it's travelling very, very fast, pretty much at the same speed as aeroplanes, but for some reason, don't ask me again, maybe it's the relationship towards the other stars around, that I can tell it's much, much higher up, which tells me it's moving much, much faster, which meets the criteria of what we believe satellites move at. Don't ask me why gravity doesn't apply to satellites. Don't ask me why they are lit up. Why would they be wasting all that energy and power on illuminating themselves when they need it for their trajectory? So, I don't think they're satellites. I think they're something completely else. And it sort of fits in then with the concept. I mean, how long have we known about satellites? 100 years, 50 years, 60, 70, 80 years, somewhere way back when they decided to invent satellites. Maybe they have been there all this time. Maybe. We don't know because there's not much in the records of it. But maybe they are something else, whether they be other beings or aliens, as we like to use that word, throw it around. Time travelers. Who knows? Could be something, some sort of technology that we're just obviously not aware of, or if we are aware of, those who are aware of it are keeping it hidden from us. But they are obviously quite high up in the sky, even though they all appear more or less the same size. This is the other thing that really gets to me is if they all look the same size as stars, but aeroplanes that are what, say 40,000 feet, 35,000 feet up in the air, satellites maybe 60,000, stars 7 trillion light years away. Why do they all appear the same size? Tells me they're all more or less the same size and more or less in the same range of visibility that we can see with the naked eye. Okay, I'll quickly tell this story. I don't think it's got much relevance. But as I'm watching this satellite, I had to sort of keep walking a little bit so I could keep an eye on it. It was going straight north to south. How does that make sense? If the planet is travelling, if the Earth is travelling easterly, I wouldn't say east to west, it's more like west to east, but we're travelling in an easterly direction, clockwise. If you're looking up at the North Polar Star, it's all travelling clockwise. Then why aeroplanes as well, satellites, everything we look at, travel in a dead straight line north to south? Come on, if we're travelling at 1400 kilometres an hour towards the east, these things should at least be slanting off and going away over to the northwest somewhere. Never happens. Dead straight, bang to bang. Okay, so let's just assume they're just moving with our momentum as well. So tonight, as I'm watching this one particular satellite, all of a sudden I'm thinking, hold on a second, this star it's travelling past, it ain't travelling past, that star is moving with it too. There's a second satellite suddenly appeared with it. Once it had reached sort of past the, if that's 12 o'clock, it was maybe, what do you say, 11, 10, yeah, probably between the 9 and 10 o'clock. So, no, it'd be more between the 10 and 11, because 9 o'clock would be over there. It was still up here somewhere. All of a sudden, here's another one, almost mimicking it, except it was obviously, to my perspective, closer to the Earth because it wasn't travelling as fast, whereas this one further up and away was travelling faster and overtook it, but this one was still travelling as well. I mean, how the fuck? These things do not make sense. Aeroplanes make sense to me. I can watch aeroplanes. And they travel. As soon as you start seeing them to the far south, you can see their blinking lights, but they travel like this. And they keep going like that across the horizon until eventually they either disappear because they get so small, or they appear to set because of the trees and the mountains and everything in the way. But they don't do this. They don't do an arc, which you would expect if you're looking at, say, I don't know, maybe it's not a big enough area. Maybe the 10-20 kilometre difference I'm looking at, but if it's 10-20 kilometres and these planes are flying 500 kilometres an hour, now hang on, it's 500 miles. They're flying 800 kilometres an hour and you're watching them for 10 minutes. They've got to be at least travelling far enough to be able to see some amount of curvature in their arc, but you don't see it. All you see is them come from a long way away, fly dead straight, and eventually disappear. I mean, I don't sit out there all night with frickin' binoculars or a telescope and watch all this happen. But logic and common sense tells you they are flying over a flat plane, not a spinning planet, not if they're going north to south. Now, okay, if everything travelled east to west, I can start to say, okay, you might have a point. Things flying east to the west would be disappearing super fast, and things flying west to the east would be crawling along. In fact, they wouldn't be able to keep up with the Earth's curvature, so they'd be going backwards slightly. Because 800 kilometres versus 1400 kilometres, maybe that's why they all just go north to south, because we're not on a spinning ball. We're not. Simple as that. Genuine observation. Physics. Common sense. Getting out there and having a look at the stars. The same stars. All year round. Tell you, you are not on a spinning ball. I'm glad we put rest to that. There were several other things that came to my mind while out walking my little doggy tonight. I think I'm just hungry. I better get back up there and finish cooking my dinner. Shouldn't be long now, so anyway, keep tuning in. Looking into the flat earth. Look into it. Look as deeply as you can. Anybody that still believes in a globe spinning ball going around the sun annually, spinning on its axis at 1400 kilometres an hour every 24 hours, and as it travels around the sun and can still look out every night and see the same stars, I'm sorry, but you've been brainwashed, and you need to get over the indoctrination. You need to look at reality. You need to understand how can an atmosphere exist in a vacuum. Ask yourself that. tell yourself the answer is gravity. Okay, that's a fine answer. But gravity, acting on gases that it doesn't act on while they're just gassing around. They can just float off and up and out and all around. And yet you say gravity works by the attraction of mass. Well, gas by its nature doesn't have mass, it's a gas. It has no mass. And you convince yourself that it has enough mass once it gets towards this vacuum of space. A vacuum by its very nature sucks. I love repeating this one over and over. A vacuum sucks. Instantaneously. It will not allow anything to exist. By its very nature, it's a vacuum. But if there is something that it can suddenly attract because it's not trapped by a physical barrier like an atmosphere, there's no physical barrier, it would suck the atmosphere off like that. Bang, gone. No atmosphere. The way a clothes dryer works, centrifugal force, application of heat, evaporates the water gets sucked out. Why wouldn't the universe be doing that to the entire Earth 24/7 as we're flying through it at massive more speed than your little clothes dryer can ever do? Unless there was a contained, enclosed, sealed barrier around us to keep our atmosphere in. So, and even that is ludicrous because you still have to imagine curved oceans and all the rest. Everything is flat and level. Water finds flat and level. As it evaporates, it dissipates. And the only thing that could keep it coming back down is obviously density. As it condenses, becomes more dense, gets enough moisture together into a ball to fall back down because it's got enough mass to fall through air, which doesn't have as much mass, till it hits the ocean or the land, and it keeps falling down until it reaches the oceans. The spinning ball concept of Earth, it has served its purpose. It is dead, it is gone, it is done, it is over. Earth is flat and infinite, absolutely infinite. And there is probably way more land masses that we have yet to discover or yet to be told about, because I think they have been discovered. And we're just imprisoned in this concept of a ball Earth. Insignificant little speck of dust floating around in space. How we ever fell for it in the first place, I don't know, but when you tell people of the big lie, more easy to fall for it than the small ones. And more easy to convince somebody, more easy to fool somebody than to convince them they've been fooled. We've been fooled. We're not on a planet. And planets don't even exist. Solar luminescence explains everything. Wandering stars, fixed stars. In the next day or two, I've got another brew I'm going to bottle, and I'm going to give a really good rant about stars again, because I've got a lot I want to talk about. Until then, take care. Talk to you next time.